Hello friends, welcome back to the studio. Let's make a regular rectangle sponge holder using one of our sponge holder jigs. Now I have to apologize in advance for this video. I did not record it in the correct format, so this is just a temporary placeholder. I know you'll get all the information you need, and then I will re-record for a wider format for you. So what I'm showing you here is how I'm rolling my texture through the slab roller. If you would like a full-size rendition of this, you can head over to our Instagram and I show you how I put my texture through the slab roller. This was a prototype video, so I am using a round cutter here, but we have since paired up a rectangle cutter that fits perfectly with this. That being said, if you do want to use a circle cutter for the bottom, you're more than welcome to do that. All you have to do is make sure that the curves match up, and then you can go ahead and cut your straight sides, and I'll show you how to use that. After I've got my general size cut out, I go ahead and I put my texture on. I do want double-sided texture because this belongs in the kitchen. I do want to add lemons to the other side. So I'm going to slab roll with my texture through the slab roller, and then I'm going to roll by hand with a rolling pin the lemons on the opposite side. Because I see so much of the interior of this pot because of the cutouts, I do like to add either interesting glaze on the inside or a cute little pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and just press this roller in. It's a nice 5-inch roller. The maker of these texture rollers is Coal Mountain Pottery, and they do recommend to put cornstarch on before, but because I already had some cornstarch on this roller, I did not reapply. But make sure you're doing that and testing so that your pattern is not sticking in. Because my other side was so deeply textured, I don't lose much of it as I'm impressing from the opposite side. So let's go ahead and put our cornstarch on. I use this as my release agent. You do want to use something as a barrier between the clay and the plastic form. Use whatever you're comfortable with. The cornstarch does burn off cleanly. I did forget to cut my template out after I rolled in the texture, and I was wondering why my clay was so big, but don't forget to cut it down to the exact size, because when you roll it through, whether you're using a rolling pin or the slab roller, your clay will spread out further. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a 1/4 inch on either side. We do have free templates for download for you on our website under the templates section. Sorry, I'm out of frame here. I promise I will film a better version for you, but I'm not adding any additional length on the top or the bottom, and I'm not doing any of my beveled cuts to join the pieces together. These are just all blunt cuts, adding extras on the side to make sure I have plenty. The neat thing about the rectangle form is that it does have your edges there, so you're able to line up your seam and conceal it really well. I try to make sure the seam hits one of those points, and then that way you're not having too much of an obvious join there. So I will bring the clay around and I will start to form. Because we have flat sides, we want to make sure that we're forming before we join our seams. So I like to start at the back, use the warmth of my hands. I'm applying the most pressure right along the bottom ridge. Because we have the cutouts, the clay does sink into where the cutouts are, and I do like that, because if the clay is sinking into the form a little bit at those void points, then I know that the clay is making full contact all the way around. So now I'm going to do my alternating beveled cuts here, and I'm going to do my best to join these up as seamlessly as possible, making sure that the bottom of my left-hand seam is butting up to the bottom of the right-hand seam. That's how you get a really nice join. And then if you're really good, the texture just kind of flows from one side to the next. Now, as you're shaping, this part I do come in and I sometimes just fuss here a little bit, just to take off even, just a sliver of clay can make a really big difference. So if you're having a lot of bulk at your seams, try taking off just a little bit more, keeping the same angle. I'm going to score both of the edges, and I'm only going to apply my vinegar slip to the outside edge of that, the outside clay. We want to avoid getting vinegar between the form and the clay. That kind of creates a glue, and that's going to make it harder for you to remove. So if you can try to keep that as dry as possible in between, that's great. So the pressure that I apply is light but firm. I want to make sure I'm getting good contact, but I don't want to disrupt my pattern too much. The deeper the texture, the more hard you can push. So if this were pushed through the slab roller with double slab texture, I could give it more pressure. But I don't want to lose my hand rolled texture, so I'm going to be really ginger here. I can come through with the rolling pin or individual stamps at the end if I do lose too much at that point. But that will face the back, and there has to be a seam. It's just, that's the way it's made. So I'm going to make sure that my clay is making contact all the way around the jig. You can feel the plastic through the clay, and you can feel air pockets. So just close your eyes if you have to. Just make sure you're feeling around and making sure there's no pockets of air. Now, I'm going to come through and trim the top off, making sure that I'm focusing on the areas where I can see the jig. The easier way for me was to cut down the middle and cut in one direction, and then turn my knife and turn it towards the other direction. If I just moved in one direction, it was pulling the clay a little bit, and I didn't want to have that. Now, of course, where the cutouts are, it doesn't matter how it looks, how that cut looks there. It's just where the jig matches the clay that you want to make sure you're getting a nice, flat, even cut, and then go into the area that you're going to remove a little bit. So if you don't want to turn your knife, you don't have to. If you're using a pin tool, that's okay. Just making sure that you're always supporting with your left hand so that you're not pulling the clay away. Now comes the fun part here. So you can actually see where, now that we've cut off the top, you can see where that edge starts. I like to use the very tip of my knife or pin tool, and I just follow the curves. We made those edges curved for you so that there's not a really sharp cut into the rest of the clay, which could cause cracking. And then when you are coming up the opposite side, save those scraps, you can make something with them. Just make sure you're supporting the clay with your left hand so you're not distorting that other end there. And it just makes the most beautiful cutout, perfect for sponges. You can use regular household sponge or like the Scrub Daddies or the Scrub Mommies, the thicker sponges as well. Same thing on the other side. Now we are removing a lot of structure here. So remember, the clay is going to be kind of flimsy if we were to remove this right away. So what I opt to do is keep the form in while I'm adding my bottom piece on. Any major adjustments to this project should be done at leather hard, especially around the cutout portion. Making sure my clay is always making full contact, I'm going to go ahead and move into adding the bottom piece on. I'm going to release it just a little bit to reveal that bottom edge, but I'm not going to take the clay out completely. Now, as I flip this, it might slide back down again, and that's all right. I just want to make sure that I've given it a little bit of room, and then I can go ahead and score at this point. You can see the jig giving you that inner structure here just allows you to maintain the shape of this. I do want to say, while I'm scoring and doing my bottom work here, I was able to make this, remove the jig. It's pretty hot here in Wisconsin, so within about an hour, the clay was firm enough for me to flip over, and the minute I could flip it over, I did, so that it could dry with the bottom facing up, and that kept my tops from warping. So now I've got my bottom piece. Remember, we have a cutter that fits this shape perfectly, but this was just kind of my makeshift using a circle cutter. And then I do have a little bit of unevenness at the sides, so I'm going to come through with my clay knife. If you do roll your clay thinner, you will have to make some adjustments with the cutter anyhow, so it's kind of good for you to see it at this point. Because my clay starts at about a 1/4 inch, and then when I re-roll it for texture, I end up working with a clay slab that's closer to 1/8 of an inch. So my work is almost always smaller than the cutters that we provide, because those are made for a 1/4 inch slab. So that's just a little note on that, but it's super easy to do. Just make sure you're not cutting too far into where you're going to join that. Just be careful that you're not losing your round edges, so you've got the straight sides and the round edges. And then as I score this, I make sure that I keep my clay in the right direction, because I just tailored it to my top piece. So if I try to fit that top piece on the bottom and I'm not exactly where I was when I started, you could have it could skew a little bit. So I always take note of when I started, my little lemons are facing up. So when I bring my piece to attach to the bottom, I'll make sure my little lemons are facing up again. So if what I just said confused you, please just drop me a comment or send me a message and I will clarify. Here's some more vinegar slip. It's just white distilled vinegar with a little bit of my clay body. It acts like a glue. Fantastic in the studio without adding extra moisture. And then, like I said, I'm going to bring it in and make sure I'm lining it up to the way that I had tailored the cut before. So I will apply a little bit of downward pressure. Remember, our jig is still in, so it's really easy to just lift and tap at this point without losing any structure. I will come along the bottom there and just use my finger first to just pick up any slip, fill in any clay gaps that I have, applying pressure all the way around the bottom. And I have no fear of collapsing into the form because the jig, of course, is still in there. And then I will come through with our mini shark fin and I will do the detailing at the bottom for the foot. My favorite way to use our mini shark fin foot tool is to have the curved side up. This gives a lot of pressure on the seam. We want to see some of the slips splooging out. We want to make sure that contact is 100% there. And we want to trim off any of the excess clay. Because typically we don't do traditional wheel trimming on our hand-built pieces. We still want to make sure that we're tapering in the bottom, that it has a nice line as it sits against the counter. You want it to appear like it's floating. If you do want to do something decorative at your foot, fold it over, have extra frills or things like that, you can 100% do that. And I think that's beautiful. So here I typically do some carving at the bottom, but with our sponge holders, some of them I did and some of them I didn't. I still lay in the same foot and the same groundwork, no matter if I'm carving or not. I'll give you a quick peek at the bottom here. It's really beautiful. All that's left to really do is just sponge this off. Sorry, I'm out of frame. To sponge this off at the end when it's leather hard. But I save all that cleanup work for after the form has set up a little bit. So now it's time for removal. This is really easy. It should not be stuck in there. We're missing the side, so it should come out easy peasy. Try to not touch this at this point. As you can see with my banding wheel, I do have our banding bat and a removable wear board. So from this point on, in my videos, I kind of handle them differently than I do in regular studio. But at this point, what I would do is use the wear board now to transport until it's ready to be flipped. So I'm going to take a sculpting tool here. I'm going to make sure that my inner seam is nice and beautifully blended. I'll take my vinegar brush to go ahead and seal that up. We've done a ton of compression from the outside, so I'm not so much worried about anything leaking or cracking. We just want it to look good and to be nice and sealed. The glaze will pull into that ring around the bottom, and it's just a really beautiful effect. Don't forget your tiny vertical seam. It might be hard to find at this point, but you'll want to make sure that all the clay is sealed up over that. And then I go through and I just give it a final brush. Again, at leather hard is when I do the bulk of my cleanup. But here I do want to make sure I'm sealing everything nicely. So as soon as this is ready to flip, like I said, in my studio this time of year, about an hour, I was able to come back and flip it on its head. And that way it was able to dry really nicely without any warping. I've got the finished picture coming up for you. Both of the rectangles build up the same. The circle sponge holder is really similar to this. I'll come back with a tutorial for you. Thank you for spending time. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm here if you have any questions. We'll see you again soon.